And that, the other mills were Mackin Mills, was from the 1840s, before it got improved as the mill it is today. And there was mills up and down the lower and the middle Rouge River, so that was kind of a way of all the farming communities producing and processing their food products. Slowly died out, but as the mills people came out here, there was a move to somewhat industrialize the area, and we got into what's called the village industries, and that was where Henry Ford partnered with the Wayne County Road Commission, redeveloped a bunch of the mills into much more modern dams with electric power plants associated to them. So the Newburgh mill here was one of those plants. The building that we see there was the village industry, and his whole philosophy there was to allow the farmers to work part of the year in the plant, part of the year in their farms, so that they could keep, as the display in Nankin Mill shows, 1 foot on the farm and 1 foot in the factory. And I think that plant was in operation until the 50s, but they operated and all fed the various village industries. I think there was between 11 and 13 at different times, supplied parts to the Rouge plant. So there's another plant up in Northville, there's the Phoenix Mill, Wilcox Mill, Nankin Mills, and then Newburgh Mill right here on the Rouge River. The lake here got formed, and again, like we were saying, that was a partnership with the Wayne County Road Commission. And part of the deal was the Road Commission would build the dams. What are you seeing, Sally?
There's a bird right there. It looks like maybe a deer. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, no, lady, black camel. Somebody.
Where?
It's flying in a fly. Just like where is it? Right there. It looks like a female black camel.
Oh.
Right in the trees, or right in the...
right there she goes.
All right.
I see a better picture for you, Sally.
Got him on film.
Oh, it's a great blue heron. That's a blue heron. Not green heron. I get those two mixed up. One has very long legs.
Well, the blue heron would be a grayish blue.
Yeah, pretty much
so
Is that based on the,
brownish.
because of the feet, or?
She has a plumage, but this is looks like they got green. Oh, she must have a nest around here.
Yeah, she's used to us. Or we're being quiet enough.
Wait for someone to start pitching out bread.
That would be sad. All right, well, I wish I could have said I planned the bird here, but I think that was just good luck. We're here actually kind of indicative of the road system that developed on top of those trails. So things like Ann Arbor Road, that at one point was the precursor to M14 in the freeway out, kind of a pre-freeway and major highway between Detroit, Plymouth, and Ann Arbor. And part of what the area and Wayne County is the precursor of the Good Roads movement. Now, I always point out to people who think, what vehicles or what transportation do you think the Good Road movement was started by?
Cars, bicycles.
Bicycles. Yep, people think it was cars, but it was actually the cycles. There was a huge input of, or a wave of cycling in the 1880s to the 1900s. And it was the cyclists that were looking for a better way of travel, because the unpaved roads before that, besides being, it was either muddy or rough, or if you think about what was in the cities with the horses traveling through the towns, the mud wasn't mud, it was horse manure and mud caused from the urine of the horses. So not a real great way for the cyclists to travel. So a bunch of the precursors to the automobile movement, a guy named Horatio Earl, who was the first commissioner of the Michigan Department of State Highways, people like Edward Hines, who our parkway's named after, John Haggerty started, we're all part of the American Wheelmen, and they were cyclists first before any of them got into automobiles. So there was a big movement of how to paved the roads, and paving was a relative term. It was more what they call macadam, which was graveling and tarring the roads and just making a flatter, more stable surface that was safe and quicker for cyclists. Now, even that was controversial at the time because people were upset that these cyclists were being able to travel at these ungodly speeds of 10 to 15 miles an hour. And when you're used to horse-drawn at 5 miles an hour, 2 to 5 miles an hour, cycling was considered almost like dangerous and unsafe in the areas. So that was a big thing to get the roads fixed there. But quickly after 20, 30 years, the cars started coming in the early 1900s, and our roads quickly got turned over to the automobile. And with that, though, was a lot of the firsts that Wayne County especially ushered in. So from Wayne County, we have the first first concrete mile of concrete pavement in the country on Woodward from 6 to 7 mile. We've got the first, one of the earliest road commissions. We have the first testing lab, the first snow plow. Downtown Detroit, the first three-colored traffic signal. So we have the red, yellow, and green there. My favorite though was Edward Hines, who was down in Trenton, saw a milk cart dripping milk down the middle of the road, and up until that point we didn't have a lot of control over the highway and how people traveled. So he saw the white line there dripping down the middle of the road and thought that might be a great way of separating traffic. So Wayne County developed one of the first road marking machines, which was kind of cool if you thought what it was. It was basically like a cart pulled either by horses or a small train or a small tractor, car-type vehicle. It had a wagon on the back with a big barrel of paint and somebody with a ladle. The stone wheel was covered with felt, and somebody would ladle the paint onto the felt covering the stone wheel, leaving kind of a rough line down, but that was our first paint marking machine. So Wayne County ushered in, and Detroit took over from there and started producing all the cars for the world and putting us on wheels. And quickly we got Ann Arbor Road turning into Ann Arbor Highway, and then M14 and the freeways that we know today. But quickly we're bringing a lot of bicycle activity back in, so the Good Roads movement is kind of moving a little bit back to its roots and trying to make sure that we can create these roads for everybody. Alright, so we were talking about the Good Roads movement, the dams, and how the park system was started. So Wayne County's been fortunate to have a park system for almost going on 100 years, and about 3 more years or so. In 1919, it started down in Elizabeth Park. But the Village Industries plants and the protection of all the watershed was the forming of a lot of what is now, Hines Drive, Middle Rouge Parkway, the Lower Rouge Parkway. All those efforts from building the dams turned into the park system. We're blessed with that, and it was set up as a way of protecting the river and providing the power for the power plants, but it's become a much more important resource for recreation and the environmental protection today. So this impoundment was cleaned up back in 97, 95 to 98 or so. Is that about the right years? And we'll talk more about that as we come around the north end. But it was part of the basis of the park system. So, and originally it was partly based on the New York park system in Westchester and in the Bronx parkways. And it was supposed to be like a whole necklace around western Wayne County. Part of it never quite got built, so we have the Upper Rouge system in Detroit, we have the Middle Rouge system that we're on, the Lower Rouge in Inkster and Wayne. And somewhere around 275 and into Canton was supposed to be a north-south type connector, more of a necklace type thing, and that never quite, all that property came in. And some of that property, though, became actually the basis of the Huron-Clinton system. So Huron Metro Park down in the southwest corner of this county was actually transferred from the county over to the Metro Parks to help start their system. But we still preserved, we never quite got the whole system built, but at least we preserved an awful lot of it, and it's part of what we're on today.